Hey everyone, here's another episode of Science with Sean, and today's topic of conversation is just about four ways that I have found happiness and joy on the spectrum. So I'm just going to go over a few different domains, a few different categories of self-care practices that I've found to be really helpful for me. And if it's um, helpful for you, feel free to use those ideas. And if it's not helpful for you, yeah, just don't even worry about it. Don't get worked up about it. Just um, yeah, just evaluate and see if this would be something worth considering trying. So the reason I wanted to talk about this subject in particular is because people on the spectrum face a plethora of hurdles to happiness. About two-thirds of people who are on the spectrum don't just have an autism spectrum disorder, they also have some kind of mood disorder, whether that be anxiety, depression, anxiety and depression being the most common ones. But there's also, like bipolar and OCD and things like that. Um, and what I found was it you don't really notice. People generally aren't like that unhappy. I wasn't unhappy as a kid. I had a great childhood growing up. Um, but as you move into adolescence and young adulthood, I found that many people really struggle with depression, anxiety, and things like that, um, because social relationships get so much more complicated past the parallel play stage or phase when you're a kid and you can just, focus on playing with your toy. You're sitting next to another kid, they're playing with their toy and it's a relatively simple relationship. It's usually geared around similar interests, but then things get more complicated as you get older and mature into adulthood. And so, yeah, depression, anxiety really increased for me pretty markedly as soon as I got to college, even a little bit in high school, but in college in particular. And so I wanted to give four different ways that I think have improved my life considerably. These aren't the only ways. This isn't an exhaustive list of all the things that I have found beneficial over the years. But I think this is a good start, a good starting place. They may be the most important ones, at least for me. Um, and I'll give the four things right off the bat. So the first one is lean into your special interests. Um, the second one is social support. The third one is physical health. And then fourth is play or rest. And so the reason why special interests are important is it's just because it's usually so foundational to who the person is. It's kind of how they define themselves a lot of times. People have a tendency who are on the spectrum to be defined by their work and their interests. Um, and so I learned how to channel that in effective ways and uh, whether that's setting a more productive goal, how to get to that goal more efficiently. And one of the ways that you can do this is you may have heard of SMART goals, having specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, I think, or realistic, and then time specific. Uh, and that's really helped me uh, kind of put things objectively and practically because I also do have ADHD. And so organization, prioritizing things can be a bit of a challenge for me a lot of times. So um, getting a specific plan for what I want to achieve whether that be a long-term goal and then kind of working backwards. So setting like this larger goal that I want to attain, and then working backwards and saying how I can break that up into smaller subtasks. So having, you know, two or three goals, mini goals, or milestones that I want to hit, that I should and need to hit in order to accomplish that big long-term goal. I try not to set any more than three goals at once because um, beyond, one, two, three goals, it's challenging to really you're really diverting a lot of resources, energy, time, money, uh, to a bunch of different avenues, and it's really only effective. It's really most effective if like you work on just a couple goals at once. And so that's actually really helped me this year in terms of my um, New Year's resolutions. This has been the best year for me in terms of accomplishing a lot of my New Year's resolutions. I'll start off setting two goals, and then I'll just kind of work my way. Once I accomplish one or two goals, then I'll set another goal. And that was far more productive for me than trying to list out 10 to 20 different things of pursuits that I want to go after, skills I want to develop, or whatever the case may be. And so that's one way, figuring out. You have to know what your special interest is. So I think that's the first thing. If you don't have a special interest, or you just don't know what that is yet, keep trying, keep looking, do lots of different things. Um, and things, like for me, my special interests would frequently change, because I would get burnt out with, I would put a lot of focus and energy into it, and then I'd get burnt out. But try to find something that is more sustainable, that you don't experience burnout super quickly, and something that you just keep coming back to. Maybe get burned out with it for a little bit, and then you're like, I really want to take that up again. Um, so that would be another suggestion. So for me, what that looks like, I'm really interested in neuroscience. So I'm doing my master's in biology right now, and my goal is to do a PhD in neuroscience afterwards. Um, because I have found that neuroscience, studying the brain, studying all the neuroanatomy, the neurons, the neurochemistry of the brain, and so forth. That's really helped me to understand just human behavior. And this kind of segues into another bullet point I wanted to address, and that's to see if you can't use your strengths to also work on maybe some of the weaknesses, or points of difficulty for you. So socializing is obviously very difficult for me a lot of times, and reading a lot of psychology, some neuroscience, just general biology, that you can see like different patterns that are conserved throughout the processes of evolution, and how those similar traits or characteristics are still present in humans. Um, all the similarities that we have from other, primates or mammals and vertebrates, and so on and so forth. Uh, that's really helped me to kind of be able to almost predict, have some kind of rough outline of what to expect in terms of social interactions, especially if people don't always voice what it is they're thinking, what it is they're feeling. Um, and what their values may be. So that's a very long-winded way of saying I use neuroscience as a way to improve my social interaction and understanding human behavior a little bit better. And that's fundamentally one of the big reasons why I want to do the PhD in neuroscience. So it helps me a lot, helps other people. And then um, the biggest thing, once you do have a goal in mind, my best advice is just to get started. Don't worry about perfection. Often tell myself just to do like a shitty first draft, whether that's writing something, whether that's making a video, getting started on a new exercise regimen. I try to just get the basic bare minimum essential information, and then I just run with it. And then I will um, revisit or evaluate my progress after a week or maybe a few weeks, and then kind of see where I'm at, seeing if there's different ways in which I can improve overall. And so, or at least improve the processes, the habits that I'm getting into. And so, uh, and then I just wanted to share a quick quote. It's by Jane. Actually, it's not by Jane Goodall. It's by Jane Goodall's mother. And uh, Jane Goodall's mother said this to her when she realized that she wanted to spend her life studying animals. Um, and, you know, back in her day, that was not something that was common. I mean, for someone to go on later to make profound discoveries, studying chimpanzees, and then getting a PhD. That is not something that was common back in that time at all. And so, Jane Goodall's mom said that if you really want something, you're going to have to work hard at it, take advantage of every opportunity, and never give up. And I think that phrase, take advantage of every opportunity, always sticks out to me. So just focus on what you can control. Don't focus on the outcome so much. Uh, spend spend most of your time and effort and energy into improving the process. What's going to get you there? What habits do you need to work on? Um, what skills do you need to acquire? How can you improve the efficiency and productivity of your day to make sure that you stay on target with your goals and everything? So that's the first one. And if you want to look more into special interests, in Tony Atwood's The Complete Guide to Asperger's Syndrome. Love that book. Great resource. I think he has a chapter just entirely about special interests and people on the spectrum. So, yeah. Number two, social support. So, um, getting a therapist has been instrumental for me, especially a therapist who knows about autism, who is understanding, who has some level of experience working with people on the spectrum, or they may even be on the spectrum themselves. I've really found that I've connected really well with a therapist who is on the spectrum and uh, we're able to understand each other really well because we have just a similar neurobiological framework and diagnosis from which we can collaborate on and talk about the strengths and weaknesses. And the knowledge is there, the personal experience is there when someone's on the spectrum. So see if you can't find a therapist on the spectrum. Um, that's been really helpful, or just someone who's had a lot of experience and knowledge and is very understanding and compassionate when it comes to working with people who have an ASD. So, yeah, family's been a super important structure for me that has really established me in terms of feeling secure. And I know not everyone gets something like that, but you really want to maximize all the relationships that you can, and so that ultimately you can experience, sorry, a sense of connection, sense of belonging. Because if you just focus on your special interests, a lot of times that's not going to be enough. I know some people have voiced that even though may not be as proficient at socializing, we still desire just as much to connect with people. And I think that's true of me as well. I don't need the same amount, the same number of friends, or the same amount of time socializing, but I want to connect with people just as much as anyone, I think. So, um, having family, friends, a romantic partner, joining clubs or organizations are good options. I know run clubs are really common right now. Finding an organization that uh, ties in your special interests, whether that be computers or engineering or some of the typical special interests, whatever your special interest may be. Maybe you don't have one, or just things that you like to do. Joining a fitness class, something like that. And the third one is physical health. This is crucial for long-term sustainability. Because if you eat like crap, you sleep like crap, um, and you're not getting any physical activity, um, one, that's going to affect your overall physical health, but it's also going to affect your mental health. And there's a lot of research on how physical activity is perhaps the greatest thing that you can do to improve memory, and the greatest thing that you can do to improve your overall quality of life in your later years, staving off, preventing dementia and Alzheimer's and all that. So that's a really key component, having a consistent routine, because physical activity is a special interest of mine. And so um, there have been times where I did not make that a requirement um, for me, and that was a big mistake. I got out of shape. I wasn't as good of a mood, and I just I just learned that I couldn't do without it. And so not everyone takes, fitness as seriously as I do, and I totally get that. More power to you, honestly. Sometimes, I wish I didn't have this compulsion to work out and be as healthy as possible, but yeah, that's just where I'm at. If you're looking for a resource in terms of like physical fitness, nutrition, I would highly, highly recommend just going on YouTube, uh, typing in Renaissance periodization or Dr. Mike Israetel. He's been he's one of the industry's, if not the industry's, foremost leader in terms of sport physiology, and he has his PhD, and just a super relatable guy. Lots of he's super funny too. Sometimes I just watch his videos for the jokes. Honestly, that's um, but he's super knowledgeable as well. And then lastly, I would say the most important one that I was last to kind of realize was important is the concept of play or rest. Um, it's it's what sustained good long-term progress for me, um, more than anything else. So, what do I mean by play? Um, because as children, I mean, it comes naturally. It's an instinct. We're curious. We want to explore. And somewhere along the line, we either forget about it or we just don't prioritize it as adults. Um, Special interests are great. You know, work is great, especially if you have a meaningful career, meaningful job where you feel like you're contributing and giving back to the community, being competent in your area of expertise. Those are all great things, but like if you don't have a way to decompress and you're just like putting your foot on the gas, full throttle the entire time, um, you're gonna most I would say most people, if I don't know the exact percentage, but most people are going to burn out. And that's even true with people on the spectrum, I think. Even if it is a special interest, when I was reading just like all the time, anytime I had any available time, I was just reading. And eventually I found that that just isn't sustainable for me. Everyone has a different threshold, I think, when it comes to work, when it comes to uh, their special interests, reading, physical activity. But really, it's really important to find things that you enjoy because if we're just like working and uh, I mean, I want to live a life that's exciting, that I can look forward to, and really the biggest thing was one of the big things was learning how to incorporate play into work. So that's why I got a job doing neuroscience, working in a neuroscience lab. Um, that's why I work out and watch, you know, exercise videos and keep up on some of the latest research. And then um, I'll just do things that are intrinsically and joyful in of themselves, not because I'm trying to build up a skill or get anything out of it, but making it a real priority. Sometimes it just looks like doing nothing, just watching TV, watching Netflix. Um, I love watching stand-up comedy. That's my number one thing. Watching some form of either stand-up or some TV show that's comedy oriented. And um, yeah, so if you're looking, the opposite of play is not, let me see here. Hold on, let me think about this. Um, the opposite of play is not work. The opposite of play is depression. That's a quote pretty much straight from Dr. Stuart Brown's book. It's just called Play, but he's a psychiatrist, and he said that discovering how important play is, not just in humans, but in other animals as well, because it is so foundational. It's a way to explore, a way to learn and learn how to socialize with other group members and learn about your limits, what you can and can't do. It's big in terms of neuroplasticity, developing memory, whether that be, you know, more motor oriented or um, intellectual, cognitive, declarative memory, or things like that. Um, it's just really foundational, and he said it really saved his life. And I'm here to say that it definitely saved mine, realizing that I can't just work nonstop. Um, and that I need to do things that are going to recharge me, recuperate me, uh, give me back my energy levels, making sure I'm making myself a priority, not neglecting my own needs. That way, because if I'm not okay physically, mentally, socially, if my cup's not full, then I have nothing to give anyone. So um, it's really an act of self-love and an act of love towards uh, others as well. So I hope that helps. I hope this was a little bit longer than what I was hoping to do, but um, thank you for listening if you watched all the way through, and thank you if you just watched part of the way through. But if there was something particularly impactful, um, let me know in the comment section or like the video, subscribe. I really enjoy hearing what it is uh, that's on your mind and whatever was most helpful for you. So thank you and have a good day.